Hello there folks, my name is Spoonks, and two animated films that have recently been released in theaters have caught my attention. Those being, of course, Trolls Band Together and Disney's Wish. The reason why is because about a month or two ago, it was pretty unanimous that even though these movies were releasing so close to each other, that one would come out on top and the other would be left in the dust. But come to many people's surprise, the complete opposite happened, as it is Trolls who is the champion of the box office in terms of animation, while Wish has been left in the dust. And I'm here to ask why? Why did this happen? It seemed like every single answer was pointing to Wish, yet Trolls is the champion. So why is that? Well, I'm also here to answer that, or at least give my point of view as to why this happened. Now, before we get into it, I just want to say that this is not another anti-Disney video. There have been so many videos on this topic. It's pretty much its own subgenre at this point. And this is just me talking about these two movies on their own and their box office performance. No Disney this, Disney that from me here. If you want to watch one of those videos, I suggest go finding another one. This is not that video. So let's just jump right in and get started with my first point: release dates. Now, when it comes to animated movies, even if they're releasing in the same month, it's pretty common known knowledge that you want them to have at least enough time between each other so that way they don't cannibalize each other's audience. A good example of this was back in November of 2018 when Illuminations of the Grinch and Ralph Breaks the Internet both released in November. The thing is though, The Grinch released on November 9th, while Ralph Breaks the Internet released on November 21st. So that's enough time between those two movies. That's like 2 weeks in between each other. But with these two movies, Trolls came out on November 17th, while Wish came out on the 22nd. Which is only 5 days in between each other. That is clearly not enough time. And I was assuming that one of them would release earlier into the month after Dune moved out of the November 3rd slot, but nope, both were insistent on staying around the Thanksgiving holiday. At least with Wish, I could understand Disney was putting out the Marvels around earlier in the month, so I guess they wanted to give time between those two movies. But with Trolls, it was definitely strange that the Universal was so committed on putting it on the 17th. And with these movies releasing so close to each other, it probably caused a bit of a dilemma for moviegoers, specifically families. As many of you probably are aware, ticket prices have gotten really expensive lately, especially in some big areas like Los Angeles and New York, and most families can't afford going to see two animated movies back to back within 5 days of each other. So I'm guessing a lot more families had to make the tough choice to make the big decision on to seeing which animated film they were going to see around Thanksgiving, and ultimately they chose to see Trolls, as evident by both of their films' opening weekends. Trolls managed to make $30 million on its first weekend, making it the third biggest opening for an animated film this year, which is quite impressive. Wish, on the other hand, not only made significantly less than that, but it was only able to muster $19 million on its first 3-day weekend, not only making it the 7th biggest opening for an animated film this year, but even so, it managed to make less than Paw Patrol did as well. Now, why is that? How did this happen? Why did more people want to go see Trolls than Wish? Well, that brings us to my second point: expectations. Now, I don't think it's a controversial take to say that not a lot of people had the highest expectations for the third Trolls film. It's the third film in an ongoing animated franchise. Specifically this franchise, a lot of people went in knowing to what expect. A jukebox musical with out-of-this-world animation and some weird jokes. And the film was able to deliver on that, and people were satisfied. They got what they wanted, and even in some cases, even more so, as some people even qualify this as the best Trolls film. Many people adored the animation, the songs, even some of the jokes and the characters. Now with Wish, the expectations were much, much higher. This is a Disney film, and not only that, a Disney musical. Their last musical was Encanto, which I think most people can agree was one of their best films in ages. And not only that, but this was the movie meant to celebrate the studio's centennial, so there's even more pressure and expectations with that. And ultimately, this film just didn't deliver on that aspect. It felt like a very subpar, poor attempt at a traditional Disney musical for a lot of people, and thus not enough people went to go and see it because it didn't manage to meet their high expectations for the film. Which brings me to my third and final point, audience reception and word of mouth. Now, on the critical side of things, critics didn't really go crazy for either of these movies. At best, they thought these movies were fine, average, 6 out of 10 at best. But it's the audience reception that matters the most when it comes to making money and releasing these to the public. And audiences have certainly made their choice on which animated film they prefer. According to CinemaScore, Trolls Band Together was able to get an A CinemaScore rating, while Wish was only able to get an A-. Now, just looking at these two side by side, this doesn't seem like a big deal. You know, an A- isn't the worst score in the world, it's still a passing grade. But when you take into consideration that there were only 2 animated films this year that got an A- CinemaScore rating, those being this and Ruby Gillman Teenage Kraken, while everything else was able to get an A, it kind of puts things into perspective. Like I said earlier, as soon as Trolls came out, I saw so many people talking positively about it. People were jamming to the songs, memeing about the weird jokes, praising the animation. I can't tell you how many times I've seen these characters on my social media feed, whereas Wish, it was the complete opposite of that. I barely saw anyone singing to the songs, making jokes about the jokes in the movie, or saying really anything of merit about Wish. Really, the most I saw were people being largely disappointed in it and it being very lackluster. When the film opened, I saw a lot of people arguing that Wish could pull another Elemental because that movie also had a bad opening but was able to have strong legs and become a much better than expected hit. But the thing is, Elemental was able to pull off what Trolls is doing right now, as I remember when that film opened and the amount of positive reactions I saw for it when it was just opening was insane. So many people talking about, wow, this was so much better than I expected it to be. What a great, charming, wonderful movie. Where Wish had none of that. I barely saw anyone praising this movie. The most positive responses I saw for this movie was, it's alright. And because of this, Wish's legs have seriously dwindled. No one is rushing out to check this thing out, and anyone who did isn't encouraging others to go check this movie out. As we've been shown time and time again this year, audiences aren't going to show up for a big blockbuster if it doesn't deliver. And unfortunately, Trolls is delivering to people more so than Wish. Trolls is a $95 million animated movie that's about to surpass the $200 million milestone worldwide. Wish is only halfway there on its 3rd weekend, which is very, very concerning. And I think that pretty much sums it up. There's probably more I can dive deep into with how these movies are performing at the box office, or there's probably some things I missed. So if there's anything else you want to discuss in regards to these movies' box office performance and how one is catering more to audiences than the other, then please by all means let me know in the comments down below. I am curious to hear what people think about how, of all things, Trolls 3 is beating this big Disney musical coming out around Thanksgiving. Like I said, imagine telling yourself this like 5 months ago. That would have been insane. But yeah, let me know your thoughts on how these movies are doing at the box office, if you have any more insight on this particular topic. If you like this video, hit the like button. If you like this channel, hit the subscribe button. Follow me on all those social media links right there. And until next time, everyone, stay sharp.